can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. It's me, Niall. Delighted as always to be joined by Paul Kelly, and we're here in preview for a huge welterweight world title fight as the WBO champion Brian Norman Jr. defends his crown against the former multi-weight world champion Devin Haney on November 22nd, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Of course, part of that massive card, probably the biggest card of the year. I'm for it. I'm sure, Paul, you're buzzing for it as well. We've got this fight. We've got Benavidez Yard, Jesse Bam Rodriguez against Martinez. But we're here to talk about the welterweight title fight. Always the glamour division in boxing throughout the years, and it can clash here. Brian Norman Jr., Devin Haney for the title. Yeah, I hope you're well, first of all. But yeah, let's jump straight into it. Just what is your kind of overall thoughts on this fight without giving a prediction away just yet? What's your feelings about this one?
Yeah, mate. Thanks for that. I think I'm really looking forward to this card as a whole. That includes this fight. I think. Do you know what? This fight I'm finding quite intriguing because, like, you look at Brian Norman Jr.'s recently, um, and like he's been very destructive. I think he kind of came from nowhere. Is that fair to say? I think, and then all of a sudden, people are like, "Oh, this he could be the guy here at 147." I think he's been impressive. He's done what he's had to do. He's had a few decent wins recently over fighters that okay, he's maybe expected to beat, but he's looked really good doing so. I think as well. Still a very young fighter too. Then obviously you've got Devin Haney and bar that Ryan Garcia fight, which obviously isn't actually a defeat any longer on his record. Like he's been a perfect. He's got the perfect record, especially pre Ryan Garcia. After that, obviously, like that Ramirez fight, he looked very gun shy. But before that, like you just have to look at his resume, like the even like your Lomachenko win, your Prograis, your Linares, your Cambosis twice. Like he fought basically everyone and beat them fairly well. So I think this is a really intriguing matchup, mate, between two young fighters as well. But Norman only 24 and Haney 26. Haney already a two-weight world champion, looking to become a three. Yeah, I'm really intrigued by this fight, and I'm finding it hard to pick a winner, to be honest.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of disagree with what you said there. Just one thing you touched on there, it is hard to believe kind of how young Devin Haney is still. He seems to be been around for a long time. Multi-weight world champion already, and you look, he's only 20, 26, but he hasn't even really hit his prime years yet. Um, he can still have many years at the top. But yeah, we'll start kind of on the champion, and you mentioned he's been on a very impressive run lately. I've been very impressed, although the opponents may be kind of not as high of standard as Devin Haney has fought. But in your opinion, as I said at the start of the video, welterweight has been kind of the glamour division of boxing. Maybe not so much in recent years since the retirement of Floyd Mayweather and kind of faded off the scene. Now that you're on Boots Ennis, or in your opinion, is Brian Norman Jr. the best at 147? I know we've got your boy Lewis Crocker who's in with a shout, but who would you say is the top dog? Would it be Brian Norman for you?
Well, we all know the Croc's number one, mate. Come on, silly question, silly question. But no, in all seriousness, I think, yeah, I mean, just off recent performances, you've got to consider him as up there. Like he's very unproven still, but from what we have seen of him, he's looked really, really good. I mean, I would probably favor him to beat Barrios, who's one of the other champions. Would I favor him to beat Crocker? I'd say he would probably be a handy favorite in that, to be honest. Um, Obviously Haney now up at welterweight. Like we'll see on Fight Night how this one plays out. But don't know if I would say. I was going to say I don't know if I would say he is number one. But then at the same time, you're like, who is number one? Because it's a weird division, as you mentioned at the minute. So I'm kind of sitting on the fence to answer your question, mate. I'm not going to say he's the best, um, but I also couldn't tell you who I think is the best if it's not Brand Norman Jr., to be honest. So if he beats Devin Haney and beats him well, or even just beats him, I'll probably have Brian Norman Jr. as number one. Yeah,
Yeah, I think if he is to beat Devin Haney, he solidifies him as number one. But as you say, there is who's the champion, the IBF champion at the minute, and yeah, if they were to fight next, I probably would favour Brian Norman Jr., but there's definitely no standout at the minute. I think it's safe to say that there's no real clear cut best at 147, but the picture might be a lot clearer after November 22nd, depending on who's to win this one. Just a quick one before we get to predictions. Devin Haney, you mentioned earlier the Ryan Garcia loss. There's a lot of asterisks behind that, beside that loss. Not technically a loss anymore, but it would be a big rematch if it happened. And hopefully no kind of controversy this time from Team Garcia. If it was to happen again, who would go for on that one?
I'll keep this relatively short and sweet, mate. I just think Ryan Garcia, judging by that, kind of has Devin Haney's number now, and I think Devin Haney would be petrified in his mind of that fight. He'd be gun shy again. He would know that, okay, depending on whether Ryan Garcia was on performance enhancing substances or not, like he battered Devin Haney really. When people and that was an off the rails, Ryan Garcia as well. So I mean, I just think mentally, I think Ryan Garcia will always have one up on Devin Haney. But in saying that, like Ryan Garcia, how bad was he against Rudy Romero? Like so you look at that and you think, well, if that's the version of Ryan Garcia we're going to get, then you would favor Devin Haney. But I just think Ryan Garcia has Devin Haney's number in the pro ranks, mate.
Yeah, it's probably hard to disagree, although as I say, of the drug tests and all that sort of stuff, but he did mentally destroy him. He really did, and it was a bad beating. Now the beating, in my opinion, that kind of I'll start with my prediction for this main event, but it's a beating that kind of showed the face for me against Ramirez. We mentioned how gun shy that Devin Haney was in that Ramirez fight, and as the saying goes, you're as good as your last fight. And in my opinion, for this one against Brian Norman Jr., if he is that gun shy, I could see him getting knocked out here. I really could. Would it surprise me if Devin Haney, boxes rings around Brian Norman Jr. and gets the win? Obviously not. But I just think, just based on the last fight, until Devin Haney proves me any different, I can see Brian Norman knocking this for out. To be quite honest with you, I think it's a bad matchup for Devin Haney, in my opinion. So I'm going for a Brian Norman Jr. KO. I'll say in 7 rounds. What about yourself? What's your prediction for this huge title fight?
Bold, bold, bold indeed. And mate, I completely agree with both of those things you said. If Devin Haney 120, 108 wins it, wins every single second of every single round, would it surprise me? No. But I'm going with Brand Norman Jr. as well. I think he's riding the crest of a wave right now. I can't get that Haney performance in Times Square out of my head. He looked petrified. And that was fighting, a past it. Jose Ramirez. So I'm going for Brand Norman. I'm also going for a stoppage, mate. I think Brand Norman will stop Devin Haney. I'll probably go championship rounds, maybe 10-11.
Yeah, fascinating one anyway. But myself and Paul are both going for a Brian Norman Jr. KO against Devin Haney. Let us know what you think. Do you with that? What do you think is the lay of the land at welterweight? Is Norman the best? And what is the kind of future for both of these men? Let us know. Drop a comment down below. And as always, don't forget, drop a like on the video first of all. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not doing so already at ESBR. Follow us on all social media. Paul, it was an absolute pleasure.
Cheers, mate. All the best.